Breaking the chains of colonial control, we will define our identity. We will define our nations. We will define our future. Before we continue, we ask for your support. If you believe in the mission of the Demotivatorshow to inform, inspire, educate and empower the African Diaspora and our friends around the world, please take a moment to like this video. Every like helps more people discover these important conversations. Leave a comment below. We read your views, your experiences and your suggestions, and they often help shape our future programs. If you've not already done so, subscribe to the channel. We are building a growing community of people committed to truth, self-determination, Pan-African progress and a positive change. Please share this video with your family, your friends, your colleagues, your social media networks, and share could be the reason someone discovers information that changes their perspective forever. And finally, press the bell icon and select all notifications so you never miss an interview, analysis, a discussion, or a special broadcast. Thank you for your continued support. Together, we inform, inspire, and build a brighter future. Welcome to The Demotivatorshow. Breaking the chains of colonial control, we will define our identity. We will define our nations. We will define our future. Before we continue, we ask for your support. If you believe in the mission of the Demotivatorshow to inform, inspire, educate and empower the African Diaspora and our friends around the world, please take a moment to like this video. Every like helps more people discover these important conversations. Leave a comment below. We read your views, your experiences and your suggestions, and they often help shape our future programs. If you've not already done so, Subscribe to the channel. We are building a growing community of people committed to truth, self-determination, Pan-African progress, and a positive change. Please share this video with your family, your friends, your colleagues, your social media networks, and share could be the reason someone discovers information that changes their perspective forever. And finally, press the bell icon and select all notifications so you never miss an interview, analysis, a discussion, or a special broadcast. Thank you for your continued support. Together, we inform, inspire, and build a brighter future. Welcome to The Motivator Show. Breaking the chains of colonial control. We will define our identity. We will define our nations. We will define our future.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's the motivator here. And this is where we translate our words into action. And where success, I say again, where success is ours for the taking. How you feeling, people? Oh, I'm feeling so alive, truly alive. I've had the privilege of encountering so many inspired people these past few days. And yes, I'm fired up. The motivator's here. We're going to have yet another inspirational podcast. And we have a series of introductions to people you know are inspirational, people we all should support. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And later on, in approximately 20 minutes time, we have our keynote dialogue. But as you know, between now and then, we've got a great deal we're going to share with you. I want to begin, of course. Our regular guest here on The Motivator Show is, of course, Dr. Carlton Brown. Okay. The founder and leader of the Britain's Black Business Entrepreneurs Conference. Okay. Details of which we've been regularly sharing with you. I understand that there are but a handful of tickets remaining. If you are a business founder, this is the place for you to be. If you're considering entering the world of business, it is the place to be. If you're an established business and now seeking to extend your networks, this is the place to be. If you're a local authority or one of those big companies who are actively seeking out suppliers from diverse backgrounds, it is the place to be. If you're simply an observer, wanting to understand what is actually happening out there in the community and then get a sense and a feel of these people who are wealth creators, who create jobs, who create opportunities, who drive economies forward, just want to be amongst them, to feel their energy, their vibe, understand who these people really are. It is the place to be. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So we are unashamedly giving support to the Britain's Black Business Entrepreneurs Conference, led by the remarkable Dr. Colton Brown, a regular guest here on The Motivator Show. And his work has had significant impact on wealth creation amongst African peoples from the continent and the Caribbean here in Britain and Europe. We compliment him and have no hesitation in recommending to you the Black Business Entrepreneurs Conference. And we want you now, please, to take note of this video. Take note. Here we go.
This is your moment. Don't let it pass. The UK Black Business Entrepreneur Conference 2026. NatWest Conference Centre, Bishopsgate, London, 8th July. Come and hear from world-class speakers and renowned entrepreneurs. If you've been thinking about starting, growing, or taking your business seriously, this is where it happens. Learn how to build and scale globally. Unlock innovation and tech to move faster. Get in the room with people who are actually doing it. No more waiting. No more watching from the sidelines. 70% sold out. The room is filling fast. Secure your seat now. www.thebbec.com. Eventbrite.
We are building a future that is not just sustainable, but truly extraordinary.
Be in the room or hear about it late. This is your moment. Don't let it pass. The UK Black Business Entrepreneur Conference 2026. NatWest Conference Centre, Bishopsgate, London, 8th July. Come and hear from world-class speakers and renowned entrepreneurs. If you've been thinking about starting, growing, or taking your business seriously, this is where it happens. Learn how to build and scale globally. Unlock innovation and tech to move faster. Get in the room with people who are actually doing it. No more waiting. No more watching from the sidelines. 70% sold out. The room is filling fast. Secure your seat now. www.thebbec.com. Eventbrite.
We are building a future that is not just sustainable, but truly extraordinary.
Be in the room or hear about it late. This is your moment. Don't let it pass.
I think you would agree. It is a worthy event. If you've got a sense that you want to create great self-sufficiency for yourself, it is the place to be. You'll be amongst like-minded people, inspired people, determined, resolute people from your community, prepared to develop networks, develop partnership, collaboration, so together we all can create wealth together. There you are. Dr. Colton Brown, keep up the good work. I look forward to seeing you at the conference. Oh, yeah. I'll be there, people. I'll be there. Well done. Well done. Well done. Next issue, and I know you all will understand this particular issue, okay? As you will all be aware that we have conducted a series of special episodes which focuses on Burkina Faso. Each of you be aware that that country, and indeed the Sahel countries as they're referred to, Niger and Mali, are setting the tone, demonstrating to the whole of Africa and the Caribbean how good governance can yield rapid results to the benefit of the whole community, not just some people. President Ibrahim Traoré, the youngest head of state in the world, does not take the head of state's salary. He takes a humble army captain's salary. He lives humbly. He has devoted his life to his people, to his country, to the continent of Africa. And he's demonstrating what is possible, what is absolutely achievable, where you're determined and resolute. Praise be to President Ibrahim Traoré. We here at The Motivator Show are organising with the consulates here in Britain a trip to Burkina Faso. We ask you to join us on this official visit. It's safe, it'll be informative, and it'll be one that the whole family will benefit from. Okay? If you've ever wanted a country where there's no corruption, remember, it's the land of the upright people. Yep. Yeah. If you want to understand the motivations of why they want to break the chain of the old colonial control, directed political control, and the attempted continued economic control of that part of the motherland of Africa, the people Burkina Faso, the Burkinabés as they refer to themselves, will demonstrate what is possible and what we can do, or each of us can do in our various countries to transform the future so it's one that we can all hold our heads up high and be proud of who we are. Praise Jah, Rastafari. I'm going to play this short clip on the official visit being organised with the consulate here in Britain to Burkina Faso. And I say to people, if in doubt, ask questions. I'm going to say it again. If in doubt, ask questions. And often when I say that, I know some people out there say, well, are you sure? I'm absolutely certain. Here we go.
Discover Burkina Faso, the place of the rising spirit. The calling has gone out. Go to website address letsdiscoverburkina.com. Let's discover Burkina.com. You are invited to visit on 17th of March to the 1st of April 2027. We are a holiday destination. Many investment opportunities. We are family friendly. A great place just to relax. Go to website address letsdiscoverburkina.com. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso.
Indeed, go to that website. All the details are contained. It will be a truly inspirational experience. And I know that some of you prefer these QR codes, so I'm obliged to put that on the screen. Let me put it on the screen for you now, shall I? Here we go. Here's the QR code. So if you're watching us on your TV, and all you have to do therefore is use that QR code, okay? Point your camera at the QR code, and it will take you directly to the website. I say again, this will be truly an inspirational experience, one that you should not miss out on. Okay, if you've ever wanted to visit Africa, this is the trip to accompany us. Please, this is the trip to come on. Absolutely, absolutely. Well done, my people. Well done, my people. I want to give a good shout out to Monsieur Compagnie Wimpanya, who is our guest here, formally launched this official visit to Burkina Faso. Join us. This is the place to be. That will be the trip to attend. Okay. Further details, we're going to have him back here in a few episodes' time, and we're going to have additional details just to help you all. Going to help you all how to, discover the language, huh? Yeah, we're going to have online classes about the culture and traditions of the place, huh? An overview of the various towns and cities that you visit. Oh yeah, it will be truly an inspirational experience. Oh yeah. Well done, everyone. And thank you, each and every one of you, for your support to date. Thank you. It's been truly fantastic. Truly fantastic. And I need to move on to another one of our regular issues. And this pertains to women. I pause for a moment because it is of a different tone, but one we are determined to give light to here on Demotivatorshow. Women, of course, are 51, 52% of the total African population. Okay. More than 250 million over a period of time have been subjected to FGM. female genital mutilation. We believe that that is a travesty. I personally have spoken to many women for whom this has been an experience. No, this has been a life sentence, which has had a profound psychological, in other words, mental impact on them. But most significant physical impact on these women. I know in some communities, in some countries, in some nations, it is considered a form of purity, a rites of passage, a preparation for marriage. I really would love for both the women and the men to speak directly to us. As a good friend of mine has been able to speak directly to us here. That's, of course, former councillor Naima Ali, an FGM survivor. But she's now an FGM ambassador, speaking to men and women about the harmful effects of FGM on women and girls. Okay. It would not be right of us to forget this particular campaign. We are a rare oddity in social media or in any platform, it appears, to regularly highlight this issue, this profound issue that affects women and girls in far too many countries across Africa and parts of Asia. Far too many. And we ask you not to turn away. We ask you just to observe just a few words that was shared with us by Naima Ali. Okay. And she was able to really communicate with us in ways that I shake my head because I can't believe in the 21st century this issue remains one that we have to discuss. Okay. Listen to the words. Listen to the words.
Naima Ali, FGM ambassador for Southwark in London, is the founder of Unshackled Duma. Unshackled Duma is a London-based organisation that empowers women and girls, particularly from Black, Asian and world majority community and Muslim communities. The organisation focuses on promoting self-empowerment, autonomy and advocacy with a strong emphasis on combating female genital mutilation, FGM. It raises awareness about FGM's harmful effects and supports survivors and works towards eradicating the practice. Unshackled Duma can be contacted via this email address: unshackledduma followed by digit2 at gmail.com. I repeat, unshackledduma followed by digit2 at gmail.com. Naima Ali, FGM ambassador for Southwark in London, is the founder of Unshackled Duma. Unshackled Duma is a London-based organisation that empowers women and girls, particularly from Black, Asian and world majority community and Muslim communities. The organisation focuses on promoting self-empowerment, autonomy and advocacy with a strong emphasis on combating female genital mutilation, FGM. It raises awareness about FGM's harmful effects and supports survivors and works towards eradicating the practice. Unshackled Duma can be contacted via this email address: unshackledduma followed by digit2 at gmail.com. I repeat, unshackledduma followed by digit2 at gmail.com.
An incredibly important campaign. And if you're a woman or indeed a man who wish to join with this campaign to see the eradication, well, first of all, we need to raise consciousness of its harmful effect. First of all, we need that honest community dialogue. Yeah. so that we can all join together and save those women and girls from a lifetime of suffering. I recognize that quite a number of women and girls had this done when they were babies. Yes, bodies mutilated when they're babies, so they can't recall the actual experience, and I get that. We simply ask you to have empathy for those for whom it was a practice carried out later in life, so they're fully conscious of the pain, the horror, the trauma that they suffer today. Okay. We ask you to be conscious of that and join with them to have this practice eradicated. Simply rewind this particular video, you have the email address, but it's one that we will not forget and we will not stop. Thank you for staying with us through that particular clip. Thank you for joining with us and understanding and appreciating its importance. Thank you. We've got approximately 7 minutes before our important dialogue with members, leaders of the state of the African Diaspora. Oh yes, it is going to be a truly inspirational dialogue. I'm showing you. Just a few minutes, and you'll want another one of our campaigning issues, because this is the Demotivatorshow. Because this is where we translate our words into action. And where success, I say again, where success is ours for the taking. I want to bring to your attention, again, the issue of climate change. I've had the opportunity to peruse both social media, particularly as it pertains to people of African heritage. Less than 1% of those videos, the dialogue I see currently occurring in our communities pertain to climate change. But yet our countries are amongst the most vulnerable to the harmful effects of climate change. Many of you will recall the ever-increasing superstorms that have been occurring, particularly around the Caribbean. In 2024, Hurricane Beryl caused widespread disruption, destruction, and loss of life in the Caribbean, particularly Jamaica. In 2025, another super hurricane, Hurricane Melissa, racked the Caribbean, particularly Jamaica. Winds of over 185 miles an hour, more than 200 kilometers per hour, caused significant disruption, destruction to property, both public and private properties. Whole people lost their income, and indeed loss of life. But the after effect of Hurricane Melissa is still being experienced by people today. You recall previous episode of the Demotivatorshow, where we highlighted a report issued by an independent agency of the Jamaican government known as the agency, the Auditor General. The Auditor General produced a report that highlighted that, in fact, millions of pounds, indeed tens of millions of Jamaican dollars, has still not been distributed 7 months after the harmful effect, devastating effects of Hurricane Melissa. We had in our studios Shadow Finance Minister Julian Robertson MP, who's ultimately his committee will have to review the Auditor General's report. But the Auditor General's report was a truly devastating document. There are many hundreds of thousands, indeed millions of Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica who contributed through the official channels. Emergency support for the people in greatest need right now. Only to discover 7 months later that less than 2% of that money had actually been distributed to those who are suffering right now. Yeah, indeed. I'm not going to cast further aspersions of the government of Jamaica, the Jamaican Labour Party led by Andrew Onis. Okay? I'm not going to cast aspersions. But I am going to say one is now cautious. We heard the High Commissioner here in Britain encourage Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica to give through the official channels. And he gave an undertaking. It will go directly to the people in need now. It will be efficiently distributed, his words. And we quoted his words. In fact, we didn't quote him. We had him here on video for you to see his own words. And you also heard the words of Andrew Onis himself. I say all that by way of background. An organisation here, PNP UK, is now dedicated to supporting building those buildings back better, build back better. An organisation made up primarily of Jamaicans and friends of Jamaicans who understood transparency and integrity of the utmost importance when asking for donations. You must demonstrate that money will be spent for the intended use. It would not be held up in some government account. Mm-hmm. We here at the Demotivatorshow, Show, therefore, have given light to the works of PNP UK, okay? Giving support to their initiative, because they have at every stage demonstrated transparency and integrity and transparency. Oh yes, they're my kind of people. They're my kind of people. They're our kind of people. People of integrity, conviction, determination. We've also been played for you a cry by a principal of a basic school in Jamaica. They call it basic or infant school for under fives, in other words, okay, whose roof was torn off and many equipment inside the building also destroyed, making an international appeal for support. PNP UK has risen to that challenge. I'm going to play for you the appeal by their school principal, whose school was in the path of Hurricane Melissa. And you will understand why we here at the Demotivatorshow Show wish to give this school principal, the children, the babies, the mothers, the fathers, the support that they can get their children back into school so they can positively
It's the motivator here, and this is where we translate
the learning experience. Okay, that is what we should do as human beings, people who are full of compassion. Yep, that's what we need to do. That's what we should do. I want you, please, to hear the words out of her own mouth, not my mouth, her mouth, what she needs to get that school back into full operation. She's simply asking for some support from the international community. As you can appreciate, it has not been forthcoming from the Jamaican government to date. Okay. It is a shame to say that. And if the Jamaican government wishes to send us a statement, I'm happy to read your statement. Although that statement needs to be founded in facts. And of course, we here in the diaspora are primarily concerned with the funds that we donated. We sweat hard to donate. Funds that we essentially emergency support for those in greatest need. We're interested in how that money has been spent and the numbers of people who have now benefited since the Auditor General's report was issued. Again, I don't want to cast aspersions on the government of Jamaica, but yes, I am annoyed. Like most of us here in the diaspora, we are very, very annoyed. Compliments to PNP UK. Now listen to this school appeal.
Sir Lewis Hines, principal of the New Building Early Childhood Institution in New Building, Nain, St. Elizabeth. We were adversely affected by the passing of Hurricane Melissa on October 28, 2025. And as such, we lost our school roof, we have lost furniture, books, and other learning materials for our young ones. I am hereby making a plea asking for any contribution that can be given to assist us in further renovating our school building so that our students can return to some semblance of normalcy. We have already received some donations and we're able to cover half the roof. The other half is patched up with the old zinc that was there from before. And as such, any contribution is an investment in our young ones, the future generation. And so this is my plea, asking for any contribution that can be given in assisting us to be better able to facilitate our young students. Thank you so very much.
New building, Early Childhood School, New Buildings District, Nain, St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. On behalf of PNP UK, we hope you would agree that this school needs to be rebuilt so that the children can enjoy the teaching and learning experience. Support the Hurricane Melissa Disaster Relief Fund to build back better the school. Send your donation, whatever you can afford, to PNP UK. That's at NatWest Bank, sort code 600802, account number 298612333. And in the bank reference, please quote DRF Melissa. Thank you for considering. Thank you for your donations. PNP UK, out of many, one people.
Very good, very good. I hope you can support that particular campaign. It is going very successfully. We will have representatives of PNP UK here in the studio. They are, I understand, preparing to go to Jamaica to deliver the first stage of the support for that particular school. And there are still a number of schools that still require support. But I hope you will appreciate that when we get them here, we'll have an account of what they've raised, where it was spent, and indeed feedback from those who have been the beneficiaries, the recipients. And in doing so, transparency and integrity is maintained. Well done, people. Well done. Well done. Keep up the good works. Keep up the good works. And we hope that the official routes will resolve the issues raised by the Auditor General's report. And we hope that that will happen very soon. And we say to you all, thank you again for your support, because that is the intention. Well done, well done, well done. I think we're now at the right point in which we are almost ready to go to our keynote dialogue. So this keynote dialogue, and I just want to just emphasize, it's one that I'd look forward to for some time. Many of you will be aware that the African Union has indicated that the 250 to 300 or so million Africans like ourselves who were born outside of Africa are part of that displacement of our peoples over the past 200 to 300 years. Okay? Forced enslavement. Mm-hmm. The effect of Africa on Africa has been profound. But of course, the continued control of African economies has continued. This is why, of course, countries such as Burkina Faso stands out. It stands out because the leader made a conscious decision to become genuinely independent. And in doing so, we have the opportunity for growth. If in doubt, I say to people, ask questions. And if you're in doubt as regards the improvement made in Burkina Faso, indeed the Sahel countries, I urge you, encourage you to seek out that information for yourselves. It is truly astonishing. So astonishing, I'm immensely proud that we are organising a visit with the consulate here in Britain to Burkina Faso to see firsthand the great changes that have occurred in the country. Once you have a truly conscious leader totally committed to the people and not to personal enrichment. Very important, not to personal enrichment. It makes no sense to me, and I'm not going to cast aspersions on other West African countries nearby, where a person becomes a prime minister, a leader of that country, and then has the opportunity, therefore, to become a millionaire. In some cases, billionaires. Yes. So Burkina Faso stands out with a leader that continues to take a captain's salary, and ensuring that people understand that his commitment is to the nation, its growth and prosperity, to its security, so that babies, little children, can have the best opportunity, the best possible opportunity that the country can deliver. That is worthwhile, isn't it? That's got to be worthwhile. But we here in the diaspora, of course, we should also be represented within the African Union, and the African Union has acknowledged this as a fact. Okay, they refer to us being a part of this sixth region. So a number of organizations have sought to expand their reach and seek to represent the sixth region, or at least part of the sixth region. When you've got hundreds of millions of people, it is somewhat challenging. And my guest, you'll see in a moment, gives indication to this fact. What is really important, that the state of the African diaspora is an organization that has demonstrated sincerity and determination, and is sought to bridge the gap between the diaspora and the continent of Africa. It is an important organization. Okay, so we have not a problem in giving promotion to its work. Okay, not a problem. I know there are other organizations, you need to make yourselves known to us. We've got another problem. If we can validate that you've actually following through on your mandate, okay, which is in your governing documents, okay, we are happy to give promotion to you, because there'll be a multitude of organizations that will be seeking to represent the diaspora, where we have hundreds of millions. We're not all going to be in one organization, I suspect. But I'm very impressed by the use the acronym SOAD, the state of the African diaspora. Very impressed by them. Okay, not perfect. Don't worry, that's fine. Who's perfect, huh? Okay, but there is a professionalism, a determination, a focus which I admire. And with that in mind, I want to give publicity to them. And I hope those of you who may consider joining Soad, okay, will report back to us of your experience and how it's contributed to improving your life, and bridge that gap between the diaspora and the continent of Africa. Such an important step forward. It is absolutely required. The sons and daughters of Africa who are forced to be born away from the continent are looking over and asking the question, are we a part of you? The African Union has made it clear, yes, 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 there you are. So now we move forward with intention. The dialogue I will share with you in a few moments, okay, is one I know you're all going to appreciate. Sorry, you all appreciate. And each of you will appreciate why this has taken a little while for us even to focus on as a subject matter for the diaspora. And it's very much to do with us, the diaspora, holding on to big visions for ourselves, for our families, communities. Indeed, big visions for the continent of Africa. That's what's required, because that's a catalyst for motivation, as it were. That's the engine behind growth. When you hold on to big visions, big aspirations. And I know as the dialogue will continue, get some pushback, but I want you to observe the evidence from more recent history, where the diaspora, working alongside our brothers and sisters and elders on the continent for very, very specific aims and objectives, and how when we are combined, we are awesome, powerful, unstoppable. Anything is possible. We can overcome. We are better than Hercules, reference in the video you see in a moment. Okay, far better. In unity is strength. Okay, does that make sense to you? Does that make sense to you? So, I'm going to share with you this wonderful dialogue. Okay, and I want you, as you go through this, and if you haven't got it, to have a pen and paper or your digital equipment ready. Okay, and want you to take notes. Okay. We try to provide useful references. I know for some, you don't want too much information, but I get that. But it's such a powerful dialogue that you're about to experience. Okay, it's one that is not sufficiently common amongst the diaspora. Okay, that one I must compliment to you, because the whole purpose of the Demotivatorshow channel, of course, is to inform, to empower, to inspire, to motivate you. You, the change makers, as King Kabbalah of the African Continental Unity Party would say. You are the change makers. We don't want an individual. You are the individual. You are a multiple of individuals, hundreds of millions of people. You are the change makers. Don't let anyone say otherwise. You are the change maker. Your very step, your very attention, you are effecting change out there. And many don't want this to happen. Believe me when I say that. So together, we are awesome. We are formidable. We are indeed powerful. Those are the words you've got to hang on to and believe it. Say to yourself every day, every night, we are awesome. We are powerful. We are all collectively confident and assertive. We are determined and resolute. Say it every day. And the whole purpose of Demotivatorshow channel had been fulfilled. Praise Jah, Rasta for high. There we go. It's the motivator here, and this is where we translate our words into action, and where success is ours for the taking. Hey people, I've got another inspirational podcast ahead of us today. I've got another great African man, okay, who's going to share his experience, his wisdom with us today. And we truly an inspirational podcast. So stay with us. There's much to learn, much to be inspired by, which we encourage you, take responsibility, because your actions is what will make the difference. Every person contributing to the improvement, the advancement of African peoples, both here and abroad. Praise be. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into it. Sir, I'm going to bow my head to you, because this is an appropriate bow, I believe. Can I ask you, please, to just say your name and organization that you represent, please?
The name is Nnamdi Chukwuka, and the organization is Soad, State of the African Diaspora.
Wow. Now, I want to talk about this State of the African Diaspora. But we here on the Demotivatorshow, as you can appreciate, we are a Pan-Africanist channel. We're very much embedded in the ancestral African diaspora, more than 350 million of us, okay? And many millions of us, tens of millions of us, have been separated from our source. So your name is of interest to us. Now, I'm going to be very careful with the pronunciation, because I know you will get this right. I'm going to think of the N, the Yeah. Now, that first name is fascinating, but just tell us about your name, its meaning and its origin, please.
The name is an Igbo name. It's from the
great Igbo
peoples
people.
of West Africa, known as Ndibo, the Igbos, who live along the Bight of Biafra, who live along the west coast of the country known as Nigeria, the artificially created country by the colonial powers. It's only 160 years old, but the Igbo have been in that region for 10,000 years. So, we are sadly part of the great divide of Africa that took place in the Berlin Conference and subsequently came to have Africa divided into straight lines and has been the cause of all the conflicts, most of the conflicts in Africa, about borders and about separation, about resources, which originated from that very artificial division of Africa by the then colonial powers, Germany, France, Britain, Italy. I think, who else was there? Holland, Denmark. So they sat around a table, they divided up Africa, and the
Before you do
consequences
that,
we're living with now.
yes, you're right, but I'm interested. Let's get your name. So the first part of your name, just say again its meaning, and then your surname. Just give us just so we're clear.
Yeah, the first name is Nnamdi, which means my father lives, and it was the name of the first president of Nigeria. Nnamdi Azikiwe was Nnamdi as well. So the first president of Nigeria, he was one of the lions of Africa, with Nkrumah, Nyerere, and Nkomo Azikiwe, who was then leading Nigeria, with Nyerere and of Tanzania, and of course Nkrumah of Ghana. In fact, Nkrumah and Azikiwe studied in America at the same time, and Nkrumah was younger than Azikiwe and was mentored by Azikiwe while they were studying in America. So that's some of the antecedents, but that's what the name means. It means my father lives.
My father lives. My father
Yeah,
lives. And I don't, sure. Thank you. It is interesting as you describe its meaning, and it's a quite a common Igbo name. That's quite a common Igbo name. Is that right?
I wouldn't say common. It's a traditional Igbo name. A little bit like in Ghana, you have Kofi, and you have various names of the various weeks or the days somebody's born. The Ghanaian names tend to mirror the day they're born. Igbo names tend to be related to their family place in the family. Its firstborns are usually called Nnamdi, firstborns.
Oh.
Others are not. So my father lives in the form of his firstborn. So that's consequently what it means, and that's the significance. I should mention, when you're talking about ethnic groups, the Igbo are the third largest ethnic group in Nigeria and the fifth largest in Africa. So we're talking about a people of 36 plus million. In the diaspora, the Igbos are about 62 million.
That's right. Wow.
So it's not a tribe, as many people tend to mistakenly use the term. Because when you envisage a tribe, do you envisage 62 million people? Or do you visit a group of people running around in loincloths? So they're not tribes, they're people.
Absolutely. Or nations is the correct term.
Absolutely, or nations.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for that context. That's we better understand you now. You're the first male born, huh? We understand you, and for the diaspora, we understand now. Okay, these are lessons for us, and this is us Sankofering. That's it. To fetch and bring back to us again. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I'm interested, of course, in your organization and why you're here, of course, Nnamdi. Of course, the Soad. Now, it is interesting, okay? As I went through your founding documents, I note that one of SOAD's founding objectives is to provide a structured, democratic, constitutional governance framework for the more than 350 million people of African descent living outside Africa. So my question is, while institutionalized the African diaspora and therefore the sixth region, how will SOAS ensure that the diaspora communities, both from the Caribbean, North America, South America, Europe, and the Middle East, are fairly represented? And what practical influence do you expect the diaspora to have on African Union policy?
I think that the way that SOAD is structured is that every region has a proportional number of parliamentarians allocated to it. So the Caribbean in the parliament have their allotted number of parliamentarians that they're entitled to, and that is proportional to their population. So if you look across the whole of the diaspora, whether it's North America, South America, Europe, UK, proportionally, I think UK has an allotted 10 parliamentarians, whereas North America has an allotted 60 or plus parliamentarians. So each region is allocated a number of seats in parliament proportional to their population size. So that's the fairness that we envisage for that setup.
Got you. So a region, let's say, for example, the Caribbean, that's a single region, is it? The Caribbean? Islands of the Caribbean?
The Caribbean would be looked at as a single region, yeah.
And now South America, will the whole of South America be a single region, or would you split it into
correct parts? South America would be a single region. Yeah.
Okay, got you. Right, that sounds quite fair. I might ask as to why knowledge of SOAS is not quite aware. That many Africans I've encountered who are not aware of SOAS, but I'll come back in a moment. So that's how it's proportionally allocated at the moment. Okay. And I'm going to assume, therefore, in each of those regions, you have representatives of SOAS in each of those regions as an administrative office that an individual or organization can seek out affiliation to. Is that right?
Well, affiliation to, I'm not sure that's the case, but SOAD, is there to primarily represent the diasporans. And the question you asked earlier is why the awareness of SOAD is potentially not where it should be, because the first 3, 4, 5 years is being about structural preparedness. There's a lot of structural things that have to take place. It takes a long time to structure something like this, a virtual country with a parliament, with ministers, with ambassadors, with representation in regions, at the same time as you're trying to develop content, as you're trying to develop a University of SOAD, as you're trying to develop policy, as you're trying to develop relationships with UA, AU, UN, and various other things. So, it is a long and winding road. And remember this, most SOAD members are doing a day job in addition to working for SOAD.
I understand, yes. Okay.
So it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig.
Yes, major undertaking, and I appreciate you. But what about the real issue that is recurring when I discuss it with others is what possible impact can this diaspora organization have on African Union policy and diplomacy across the continent? In terms of policy, what impact could we have on policy in the African Union?
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. You're taking the first step. The policy impact will come over time when Africa and many countries now recognize the importance and the significance of their diaspora. They are giving them a greater voice. Ghana is doing that now. Nigeria has been doing that for some time. It's got NIDO, Nigerian Diaspora Organization. Yeah, each country has now, if you go to their embassies here, they have a secretariat specifically focused on the diaspora. These are the early steps. Ghana has now said that the diasporans can vote in coming elections. Other countries are doing similar things. They're freeing up, they're loosening the legislation around diaspora participation in the political process. And as that increases, the impact on the African Union will increase because they will have a larger voice. Financially, we already know that diasporans remit over 100 billion a year into Africa. So that gives them a voice economically. Again, we're looking at ways to leverage that and to make that more meaningful, more impactful, and all that adds up to African Union taking them more seriously. They have to. It's a no-brainer. They have to take them more seriously. Diasporans are now the first call of most countries when they want qualified engineers, qualified professionals. They don't look to expats. They look to their diasporans first to fill those roles in their countries. So those are the ground level changes you're seeing that will over time mean structurally these countries have to adapt and change and be facing their diasporans in a more equal way, in a more equitable way, and a more involved way. And it's happening organically over time.
Thank you. That's much clearer. And I say to my audience, the opportunities are abound. And as we raise the awareness of these opportunities, I'm anticipating, if I may say so, sir, that you will receive overtures from the diaspora, because there are tens of millions of people like myself who are looking to Africa for genuine opportunities, a safe place to settle, a place by which we can feel totally at home without the tension that we might experience here in Europe or America and other places. Absolutely. Thank you. That's a load. May we return to some other details of what you described in a moment. But I want to move on to my second part.
Before we continue, we ask for your support. If you believe in the mission of the Demotivator Show to inform, inspire, educate and empower the African diaspora and our friends around the world, please take a moment to like this video. Every like helps more people discover these important conversations. Leave a comment below. We read your views, your experiences and your suggestions, and they often help shape our future programs. If you've not already done so, subscribe to the channel. We are building a growing community of people committed to truth, self-determination, Pan-African progress, and a positive change. Please share this video with your family, your friends, your colleagues, your social media networks, and share could be the reason someone discovers information that changes their perspective forever. And finally, press the bell icon and select all notifications so you never miss an interview, analysis, a discussion, or a special broadcast. Thank you for your continued support. Together, we inform, inspire, and build a brighter future. Welcome to The Motivator Show.
This dialogue, and that's the business and investment, because you just mentioned remittance and so on. Now, SOAS aims to strengthen economic cooperation by promoting joint business ventures between Africa and the diaspora, whilst encouraging long-term investment beyond traditional remittances. Now, what specific initiatives is SOAS developing to connect African entrepreneurs with diaspora investors, and how could these partnerships accelerate industrialisation, job creation and economic prosperity across the African continent?
Well, again, this is going to be organic over time. SOAS, like most governments, doesn't have a direct impact on employment. It can only help to create the conditions to improve employment. So Soad looks at countries and looks at what their priorities are. In some priorities is agriculture. Then they'll look at agriculture and say, well, what can you do legislatively to make it easier for people to invest in that sector? And working with those countries, we can look at things like relief of tax. We can look at trade-free zones. We can look at other ways in which you can encourage diasporans to invest directly. But in most cases, what's happening organically is that a lot of diasporans are now investing in startups directly.
Yes.
So that is a direct impact on the economies of those countries. They're creating jobs through startups. They're investing in local businesses through startups. So that startup culture is now quite prolific across most of Africa. You know, I think, in fact, Africa has the largest number of startups globally of anywhere in the world. You know, Kenya is one of the most prolific countries for startups and startup investment, especially in fintech and agrotech. So that is happening. Nigeria is also catching up. Ghana is catching up. Zimbabwe is catching up. Zambia is catching up. So the startup, ecosystem is independent of government, but is creating that, magnet for inward investment, that condition where investors abroad see an opportunity to invest in tech, agriculture, into transportation, energy, and they're doing that without government interference. They're doing that, organically.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is such a crucial part of your work, if I may say so, to encourage the wealth creators, those entrepreneurs, those who've brilliant ideas, and the drive and determination to follow through on those ideas in a market in which it's really fresh and receptive to their presence. You know, after all, we're all Africans alike, as it were. You know, the opportunities are abound. I must say, I've looked and have over the past 20, 30 years looked very closely on a number of significant investment and personally been involved in those investments. It has been exciting, true opportunities. We've got to grab them, don't leave it to others to do it. We've got to grab them ourselves, diasporans. We've got to grab it ourselves. This is the place to invest. Africa is the future. That's where the next real growth area for the globe will be in Africa. The youngest population. We invest in the young and we will develop the growth for the future through them. Praise be. Well done. Well done. Thank you. I find this is such an exciting area of Soad's piece work. So absolutely right. The third area I just want to touch on as part of our dialogue, and you're interested to hear your response. That's the area of heritage, tourism, and cultural preservation. Now, Soad seeks to encourage heritage tourism by reconnecting people of African descent with their ancestral homelands, while working alongside local communities to preserve Africa's cultural heritage. Those historical sites, and there are not hundreds, there are thousands of them across the continent, I might add, and the indigenous traditions, ensuring they are retained, and of course ensuring the natural ecosystems are, of course, protected. Now, how can heritage tourism become a powerful engine for economic development without compromising the authenticity and protection of African environments?
Well, there is a risk. There is a risk that it won't, but that's a risk worth taking. We are talking about valuing our cultural heritage and showcasing that to each other and the world. I mean, this year we have Festac, Festival of Arts and Culture in Senegal. Festac was born 40 years ago or more in Ghana. And next year, Festac will return to Ghana for its anniversary year. So Festac famously held in Lagos in 1977, which was Festac 77. And when Fela created the Festac village, which still remains and is now a famous landmark. So these cultural events, I think, actually, when we look at Africa, one of the key things we don't value sufficiently is the number of traditional festivals that are held throughout Africa, African festivals. Again, largely unknown, largely unvalued, but these are the things that over time we build up the awareness and importance of that. Some of the ones that are currently known and people go to is Calabar Festival that used to be held in Nigeria. We're talking about Mardeng Festival in Sierra Leone, again a global festival. People are aware of that. Festec itself is not a country festival. It's almost like an Olympic festival of culture, because each year countries bid to hold Festec, like they bid to hold the Olympics. So it goes from country to country, and has this amazing impact on the economies of those countries for the time it's there. So we're looking at festivals as one of the key magnets and draws to tourism. Tourists are happy to travel to Glastonbury, to Mardeng, to Calabar Festival, to all these festivals that are rich in culture, experience. And of course, even now, a lot of our British tourists go to Thailand just for festivals. They go to the Thai festival, the Half Sun Festival in Thailand. That attracts hundreds of thousands of people to Thailand. And we want to see the same replicated through Africa with more festivals. There is planned, I think, 3 or 4 new festivals coming to Africa in the coming years. Next year, we have in Uganda, we have the African Cup of Nations again, that will bring a lot of people there. In some ways, that's a festival. It's a sporting festival of an event. So I think when we look at the map of Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, we can see the emergence of festivals as an economic powerhouse, as an economic magnet, as an economic engine, because around a festival are all the things you need: hospitality, entertainment, accommodation, transportation. So with all of that, food, nutrition. So any festival generates huge amounts of employment around it. And it's not just for the day of the festival. It's the 6 months leading up to the festival and the 6 months after the festival with the winding down. So festivals have a huge impact on the economies of countries. And I think in terms of cultural awareness, it helps to promote the culture of those countries that are holding the festivals.
Okay. It's interesting as you describe this. It's that information doesn't seem to be readily available, and maybe Soad could create that collection in your website so we can go to it and say, that's where all the festivals are. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great idea. Just in the same way we rate restaurants with the Michelin Guide, I think we need a guide to festivals, a Soad guide to festivals, where we grade them, where we talk about, we give points for hospitality, we give points for entertainment, we give points for cultural impact, etc. I think that's a phenomenal idea you just had there, Martin. I think I like that.
There you are.
The same way we have the Michelin Guide to restauranting, Michelin Guide to food, we need a guide to festivals. It's a great idea.
Thank you. I can only try. But nevertheless, the fact that that information is with you and you're able to share with us today, I know for many guardians, many parents, and those who are able to be readily mobile, being able to visit Africa and its festivals, and to appreciate its wonderful, rich environment. I know for many, particularly those who've been here in Europe or the American and only know to go to maybe Europe or America or maybe the Far East. Now they can go to Africa. Yep, they can go to Africa. Thank you, Namdi. Thank you very much. Now, my next question on the dialogue of discovery that we have with you is repository justice and the right to return. Pretty important to us. Now, so as I understand, supports the international campaign for reparatory justice arising from the enslavement and colonization, while advocating for recognition of the right to return as a fundamental right for people of African descent like myself. What practical steps should African governments, the African Union, and the international community take to advance these objectives? And how would recognizing the right to return strengthen the relationship between the African diaspora and indeed the African continent? I cannot say how important this question is to us all, please.
Well, I think, the African diaspora want and need to feel valued. They want and need to feel valued. Some countries are leading on that, like Ghana, who are already offering citizenships to Americans who want to relocate and start a new life. Other countries like Liberia have been doing it for some time. They have been allowing dual nationality. They've been making it very easy for people to come over and gain nationality once in Liberia. Others are hesitant because of the geopolitical problems that may resolve in. Because if you do that, how does that impact on the countries that they're coming from? There are some political sensitivities around that. But on the whole, countries in Africa are embracing the idea of making it easier for diasporans, A, to travel to Africa, and B, potentially to take out citizenship. And they're encouraging it because they know the value of bringing that knowledge base back to their countries. They know the value of bringing that hard currency back to their country. They know the value of bringing that enlightened view of, their work experience back to the country. So many countries, it hasn't been formalized by the African Union. There is no formal process for this. There is no formal,
why not?
let me say,
I've got to ask this question though. Why not after all these years? Why isn't there?
Because it's seen as politically sensitive. It's seen that it's something that individual countries need to come to on their own. It is not a mandate from the African Union saying you must do this or you must have this in place. Each country needs to find its own level of progress in that area. Whether it's at breakneck speed, like Ghana is now doing. It's doing a lot with Jamaica. Direct flights from Ghana to Jamaica, direct flights from Nigeria to Jamaica, and trade fairs between Ghana and Jamaica all the time. I think there's 2 this year. So some countries are leading on it. Others are slower because political necessity requires them to take more time over it. So, it's about the imbalances of economies. Sometimes bringing in diasporans can cause an internal inflation crisis in countries because they have money to burn, as it were, where the local people are struggling to. So prices tend to go up when diasporans come back. So, these things may not occur to us immediately, but there is an economic impact, both positive and negative, with diasporans coming back. In those areas that diasporans inhabit, prices can be 50% more than in the rest of the country. And that's a significant economic challenge for the locals, as it were. And it can lead to resentment. Some of the resentment we're seeing in South Africa is about not diasporans, but it's about that whole thing of external people coming in and forcing the economies of that local community to, be impacted by their presence, both negatively and positively.
Right.
White foreign nationals are our brothers. We love them. They're our racial kin. Maybe you should learn to love your brothers the way we love ours. Just a thought. With regards to my racial kin from Europe coming to this country, I hope more of them come. I hope this answers your question.
Right. It does appear, though, based upon within my own networks, those who have returned are invariably returning with the intention to invest. Yes, there are a few who are returning to retire, without a shadow of a doubt, but the vast majority appear to be actually transferring their wealth to the country. Okay, which is, you mentioned Ghana, which is significantly added to Ghana's GDP. It has created a growth in that economy, created new opportunity for job creation in the country, because it is receiving significant inward investment from diasporans. You're right, of course, with that money can come with some inflation, but the overall benefit, and I wondered to what extent Soad is engaging African nations, the leadership in this, the overall benefit far outweighs any inflationary impact this might have. The vast majority are coming in with the intention to invest for growth. These are the upwardly mobile, those who are able to travel and see an opportunity for genuine growth for themselves and their families, and as a result, benefiting the nation as a whole. That appears to be my observation. If that differ from yours generally?
I think your observations are on the whole accurate. Again, many diasporans investing in economies in Africa are looking for return. They're not always impact investing. They're investing purely on a profit basis. They want the best return on their money. And many of them see that in the agricultural sector of African countries. They see that in the tech sector of the countries, fintech, financial technology startups are doing very well across the whole of Africa, especially now with the idea that we still have about 60% of the people of Africa unbanked. So technology around apps that allow for greater financial traction for these traders, these small traders, and allow them to engage in the financial transactions of contactless payments is very much an area that a lot of people see as a potential growth area for investment. So, that is happening incredibly fast in East Africa, mainly. Kenya is a leader in fintech technology and fintech investment.
Yes. And as you say that, I'm reminded, of course, speaking to a Chinese friend of mine, and he would say the Chinese see Africa as being a definite growth area, and the government, of course, for obvious reasons, are encouraging sort of major infrastructure projects across the continent, and of course, their business communities are heavily investing in Africa for that reason. It does seem completely wild to me that every African country isn't absolutely reaching out to the African diaspora, who are more likely to invest with a, yes, we obviously want to make a return, got to make sense, of course, but these are people who feel a emotional and indeed historical connection with the land. Why my first question to you today was, we want to understand the meaning of your name. We want to build kinship with you. It does seem that there does appear at some point to be a disconnect. Chinese investments, Indian, American even, are in a major way, but yet the countries don't seem to be proactively seeking out their own peoples who have been divided by time but are emotionally connected to invest and see Africa as the place to be. How can we help you as Soad, we're all part of Soad, I suppose, to achieve that realization across the continent? What would it take, do you think?
Well, Soad's primary goal at this point in time isn't necessarily in the area of investment in economies. It's more in the area of cultural awareness. It's more in the area of education. Of course, we understand the importance of economies, especially in today's world where so many of the youth are unemployed. If we can generate economies to, have more businesses starting up in their economies and therefore more potential for employment, that's a great thing. One of the things that makes investors weary of African investment is the fluctuation in currency. A lot of countries' currencies fluctuate, so they don't want to invest in the currencies of that country. They will invest with hard currency in sterling. And for that reason, there is a great dividend, there is a great cost to investing via diasporans. There is an opportunity cost, but there's also a currency cost. So for most Africans, the thought of investing in Africa romantically and spiritually sounds great, but practically there are problems with not only getting the money out once you've made your investment. How do you get paid? and what currency you get paid in. So it's about entry and exit strategies. It's about payment of that investment in terms of, being paid in hard currency as opposed to local currency. So the currency issue is one of the key, let me say, reasons why you don't find diasporans investing in larger numbers. It's the fluctuation in currency value is the risk which is posed by currency. That's one of the main reasons you don't see more diasporan investment into Africa. The big countries, the big state investments, China and the others, they can weather that. They can, hedge against their currency fluctuations. They can make a lot of things. Puts a lot of things in place that minimizes the risks for them in terms of currency fluctuation. So they can hedge against currency fluctuation. Small investors can't do that. So it puts them off. It makes it more risky for them. They're risk averse. And that's one of the reasons currency issues that, puts investors off.
Okay. And what is African Union seeking to do about this? I hear talk about creating a free trade area across the continent. I know the Sahel countries, that's Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, are now working toward a single country outside of CFA to create a local currency, and encouraging, and they're definitely encouraging diaspora to invest in the Sahel countries. But what is the African Union doing to make it easier for...
Discover Burkina Faso, the place of the rising spirit. The calling has gone out. Go to website address Let's discover Burkina.com. Let's discover Burkina.com. You are invited to visit on 17th of March to the 1st of April 2027. We are a holiday destination. Many investment opportunities. We are family friendly. A great place just to relax. Go to website address Let's discover Burkina.com. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso.
Yes!
I think it's going to help if we start acknowledging and recognizing the African Union is more equivalent to the UN than it is to the EU. African Union is not an economic union. It's more of a cultural, if almost pseudo-political union. It has no economic powers to say anything or do anything with any African country. It just hasn't. So when we look at and we conceive of the African Union, it's better to equate it to the United Nations, the UN, as opposed to the EU, which is primarily an economic union, where they're, from the very get-go, talking about economic alliance, economic, parity. So they've always, from day one, with the EU, been about, firstly, the economic union more than the political union. The reason why UK wanted out was it was becoming too closely politically aligned. They were okay with the economic union and alignment, but they were not happy with the increasing economic interference. Sorry, the political interference of the EU. So African Union is very much more like the UN than it is the EU in that sense. It's not an economic forum. It has no teeth to say anything to any African country about this economy.
Right. So at this juncture, so the move towards creating the free trade area, is that a strategy that Soad is supporting and encouraging?
Yeah, of course Soad will support that. Soad supports anything that leads to greater economic, let me say, interaction between countries. The trade between African countries is minimal compared to the trade between European countries. So, one of the things we can see in terms of metrics is measuring the amount of trade between African countries. And we see clearly that part of that challenge is infrastructure, the ability to travel, to go by road, to go by air, to go by, ship. It's limited. The structural problems with African intertrade is primarily, about infrastructure.
Right.
We haven't got to that point where we can say infrastructure is no longer an issue. It's still very much an issue in terms of travel, movement of goods, movement of freight. So yes, one of the things we have to look at is how do we increase inter-trade between African countries. That will definitely help to boost the economies of the local communities and Africa generally, globally.
Gotcha. Again, another one of these important issues to be tackled. Of course, it's about, if I may, in terms of infrastructure, that is connecting roads, connecting railways, connecting air flights across each of those countries. Because it is astonishing, in order for us to get from here to let's say, Burkina Faso, that one has to take a rather circular route to get there. It's almost, in fact, it's so circular, I'm embarrassed to say it in public, but I think it's personally demeaning that we haven't resolved it ourselves, We have to rely upon essentially European flights for the most part to get there. I think that's completely mad. Completely mad. And I suppose I reflect the attitude of many here in diaspora who would say, well, that's one we need to resolve, and therefore it's an investment opportunity. Okay, and
sure.
and that's where maybe our investment money should be focused on those big infrastructure problems, which we should find solutions for, and we should do it, and we shouldn't be relying upon. And I appreciate the Chinese to do it. Come on now, because one of the questions I need to ask of yourself, as you continue our dialogue, is the underlying principles that supports SOAD, and I will get onto that in a moment. But before that, I want to touch on another issue of wider concern, and that's the humanitarian actions and professional expertise. I'll put this question to you. SOAS aims, understand, to combat modern human trafficking. Okay. That, of course, one is a no-brainer. Support vulnerable migrants and establish networks of diasporan professionals who can contribute to their expertise during emergencies and long-term development projects. Now, my real question is this. How can SOAS effectively mobilize African professionals across healthcare, engineering, science, education, technology to respond to rapidly rising number of humanitarian crises that are occurring, and helping to build Africa's long-term resilience? Because this is actually built into your aims and objective, which I'm quoting from. But how will you achieve that particular aim and objective?
We achieve it by focusing on it. We achieve it by building capacity. We achieve it by training and development. We achieve it by having that dialogue with countries to talk about their preparedness for emergency, resilience, disaster recovery, risk mitigation. It's first you recognize a problem, you acknowledge you have a problem, then you start to look at ways to solve the problem. So the problem has been recognized. Now the dialogue is about how we resolve the problem. And one of the main things is training and development. Training people in those paralegal, paramedic disciplines that allows countries to have capacity to meet those challenges when they occur. So it is all about making training available where it can, online, is free at the point of need, free at the point of course, having dialogue with countries about partnering, with knowledge transfer, with training and development, making our resources available to countries when we can and however we can. So, the Soad University of Soad, that's one platform where education, material, and resource is available online for many countries.
So, forgive me for interrupting. You said the University of Soad. Tell us a little more about the University of Soad, please.
University of Soad is an online educational platform, just like the Open University here in UK. It's a digital university which has a number of divisions, a number of disciplines available at the moment. It's growing. It's still in its early years of formation, still expanding its, offering to clients, but it's there. Go online, have a look. It's all available there. What is available is online and readily accessible. Soad University.
Thank you. I'll put the URL on the screen for the final version of this. So that's one example of progress made under this particular. Can you give us other examples, maybe? Because that's a very important one, I might add.
Not ones that I can think of at this minute in terms of examples, but I mean, that's a very major one, and we continue to collaborate and cooperate with countries to try to help them to build capacity in those key areas of rescue,
engineering, science,
recovery, the medical field. So it's about transfer of expertise. It's about making a known offer of training and development that's an offer to countries. Most countries struggle with training their people on ground, but now with the world of online training, we can make some of those things available remotely, but online. And so we, as Soad, look to see how we can use the digital economy, digital world. We are a digital government, as it were. So we focus on the training we can offer to remote areas digitally. So we can reach further and, do things in a more, let me say, libertarian way than most governments who are struggling with their own economies and their own finance and, having to find money to resource training. We can offer some of that training free at the point of need, as Soad.
Okay. Brilliant. And that information will be found, I presume, on your website. Would that be found? Or?
Online, yes. Look online. You'll see what is being offered in terms of training and development. You can see what's being offered in terms of the University of Soad. It's all there.
Wonderful. Hear that, people? I'll put the details on the screen for you in a few moments. It'll be there for you. Thank you. This is absolutely wonderful. I am acquiring knowledge, people. These opportunities are there. Isn't it fantastic? Okay, another question for you in that case. So, as leadership and global representation. Now, you spoke about it at the beginning of our dialogue. Let's probe a little further, as I said earlier. Now, since its founding, I understand that Dr. Louis Georges Tin served as Soad's, and you used the term Prime Minister. Okay, I want to put you on that for the moment. Okay, leading a global virtual cabinet reflects the representation from African Diaspora, including, as you mentioned, the Caribbean, Europe, the Americas. How does this model of international governance operate in practice, and how does Soad ensure its leadership remains democratic, accountable, and representatives of the diverse interest of peoples of African descent worldwide? No pressure on you now.
It's a very big challenge, and we're not entirely sure that at this point in time we can claim categorically to be doing that. But it is what I call an evolutionary thing rather than a revolutionary thing. We are working towards that. We're committed to that end game, that end goal. Initially, Dr. Louis Tin was appointed, self-appointed, if you want to call it that, self-appointed. He built a cabinet around him, and that cabinet was self-perpetuating. We are looking at a time and a place, because the model of Soad now is that we encourage people to become citizens of Soad. They come and they take citizenship. And those who register and become citizens of Soad will, as part of their citizenship, have the right to vote. And those parliamentary elections in their regions will take place once every 4 years, and they will have an opportunity to nominate and elect their representatives. So that's a process that is ongoing. That's a goal that's a work in progress, but that's what we're aiming for. So the key element of that is encouraging people to come on board and register and become citizens of Soad. We say we represent the diaspora, but that's a theoretical representation. The people we actually represent are those who have signed up to be citizens of Soad. So that 350 million people is a potential constituency. We don't necessarily represent them in the truest sense of the word. The people we actually represent are those who have signed up to be citizens of Soad. Those we have a legislative responsibility for and a constitutional responsibility for. So that's the progress and that's the future of Soad, representing people who have actually physically signed up to be citizens of Soad. And with that citizenship comes rights and responsibilities.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. What motivates a person to sign up? And I contemplated this question prior to us beginning our dialogue. The question I've been troubling. So, what would motivate someone like myself? Okay, let's give you an indication. As part of the preparation for our dialogue, okay, I had to envisage what impact an organisation like Soad could have on me, my family, and indeed the tens of millions, hundreds of millions, he says, of diasporan Africans who've been away from the continent for too long. Okay, what would stimulate an interest for myself is the big picture. Is it one of the ultimate aims for Soad, notwithstanding your earlier comment as to its immediate involvement in terms of encouraging greater involvement by the diaspora? One of the ultimate aims, that is that we aim to achieve a united Africa, one in which we no longer have these old borders. Would that be a fair comment, first of all? Would that be one of the ultimate big strategic aims for SOAS?
No.
Yeah.
In a word, no.
If you could elaborate, why would that not be?
Well, it's a fool's errand. I mean, we're talking about something that is likely never to happen. So why pursue it? Africa at this moment in time is a continent consisting of 54 countries, and those countries are looking for their autonomy within that, within their own structures. They're battling with their own political processes. Some are let me say, evolving into fully fledged democratic, institutions. Africa, in that sense, is still a very young continent in terms of political processes, in terms of, political, let me say, alignment. Some have reverted back to, military rule, as we've seen in the Francophile areas. Others are looking at whether or not actually they like the idea of Western definitions of democracy. This idea that you have to change parties every 4 years is a huge financial cost to countries. We've taken on this model of Western democracy when actually Africa had its own sense of democracy. Chinua Achebe said that in any society we should have opposition from within, not from without. Everybody should be part of the same institution. The opposition we have is people within that institution. It's more like the Chinese model, if anything, that you have a one-party state which is democratic in the sense that people within that one party have elections and the population have an opportunity to elect them within that one-party state. The Western system of democracy is hugely wasteful, hugely costly, and very fractious. I personally don't necessarily advocate a Western model of democracy. I think it's a false apparition. It's a mirage. It's something we're aiming for that doesn't necessarily align with our own philosophy of a village, a philosophy of what constitutes community and what constitutes togetherness. It's a Western model. It's not an African model. We have to revisit these models and look at what works for us. It isn't necessarily
Indeed.
20 parties, elections every 4 years, fractions, parties coming in every 4 years, rewriting the constitution, rewriting the plan of action. What about the Chinese model where you have a 50-year program and all we have is new faces coming in to deliver that 50-year plan? We can have democracy within that context. I'm not a big fan of Western style of democracy at all.
Excellent, excellent. I thought we were on the right track. So maybe let's pursue you for just for a moment or two, because we really want to understand that big picture. See, and let's take China as the example for the moment, but we could take the European Union as we're currently in Europe. In fact, why don't we take the European Union as we're currently in Europe, and you made reference to it earlier on. So the European Union, of course, is indeed an economic union. You're quite right, an economic union. Countries recognising, for the reason you just highlighted, that both for democratic and indeed for trained purposes, okay, it is far more efficient to reduce the number of borders between peoples, okay, administrative borders. And secondly, of course, that there's a clear understanding. It's about to happen, but it hasn't quite happened yet. That parties which were in the current nation states would have similar offices in the neighbouring state and become far more pan-European, which is part of that European vision for their future. I think what you're describing to us, and you use the term, we will adopt our own system of governance. I think that's what you're saying. And I think you're also saying that the artificial borders, you alluded to it at the beginning, are ones that we need to do something about anyway, in order that greater peace and prosperity is possible. The Igbo people, for example, are straddled across 3 countries, mainly focused in what we call the place Nigeria, but in the 2 adjacent countries, for example. Would that be right that the first stage for greater peace and prosperity across the continent is that we've got to resolve the historical legacy of colonialism and the old borders, so that those borders reflect where the people actually are and not what this Berlin conference dictated they would need to be? Would that be a fair assessment?
It would be an interesting assessment. It's one of these things where you think this is again a Herculean task. Is it a task worth taking on? The reality is most countries now, irrespective of how they got there, are unwilling to change. Irrespective of how they got there, they're unwilling to change. They will fight for those borders. Whether it's Uganda and Rwanda or Congo, or CRA, whatever it's Tanzania and Kenya, these borders, irrespective of how we initially got them, are now there and people are ready to die and defend them. So that's part of the problem. We have to take a more nuanced and a more, let me say, pragmatic view of this border issue.
Breaking the chains of colonial control, we will define our identity. We will define our nations. We will define our future.
Of course, if we can reduce the friction between borders and the friction between trade and borders, and that's partly what Soad is looking to do with the gaining of Soad citizenship. One of the things we're fighting for is visa-less travel for Soad citizens throughout Africa. Mm-hmm. So some countries are already accepting that in theory. Others are doing it practically. Liberia was one of the first to recognize Soad citizenship and are looking to say, if you have a Soad citizenship, you can come to Liberia without visa. Now, if we can replicate that throughout the 54 other countries, that is a big step towards that type of frictionless travel, frictionless trade. So with that in mind, I think where countries may not necessarily want to be that accommodating between themselves, they may want to be more accommodating with Soad and with the diasporans, and that's a start.
Right.
If we can get that view of travel and libertarian view of borders with visaless travel for Soad citizens, then it's a step towards potentially saying, okay, if it works for Soad, why can't we do that for the rest of Africa? Why can't we have visaless travel for Africans within Africa?
Yes.
You know, Europeans have visaless travel for Europeans. EU citizens can travel anywhere in the EU without visas. I think, you know, if we work towards that, if that is our aim, eventually, I think we will get there. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take, you know, education to show people that this is of value and this is actually something that supports the economies of those countries and not put it at risk. So yes, I think we're working towards.
We're getting there. Don't worry. It's good to talk to you. I speak to many of my people across the continent. They react exactly the same as you. But as you discussed with them, recognizing, for example, United States went through exactly the same process. Those states were, in some of their size, nations of their own, but they agreed to federate. You know, they agreed to federate. Here in Europe, it's that federation is gradually emerging together. The Russia is a series of great nations that have become Russia. China, those provinces are again another example of nation state which now become one. There are no friction between their borders any longer, and they've now merged and now have a central government in China. And Japan is an empire, and that empire with all those islands that make up the islands of Japan, they were many individual states, and now they've come together. It's interesting. I note your reaction initially. Well, no, a fool's errand, but it's been a sign of social evolution across the globe, and I suspect
I actually didn't use the term fool's errand. I said it was a Herculean task, which it is. Yes. It's a Herculean task. I mean, absolutely. Firstly, within countries, for example, like Nigeria, where you have 250 ethnic groups who are battling the battle of just getting some alignment within the country on that basis before you start talking about how we align with Ghana and Senegal and Cameroon. We still have to align ourselves internally. You know, we still have a way to go to have that frictionless trade even within countries. So I say it's a long-term aim. Yes, why not? But it's an aim that is way off. The first bridge we have to cross is internally. It's the internal alignment of those countries before we look at external alignment.
There's obviously elements of truth, but you and I have been around for long enough, he says. I recall that racist regime in the old country or from Rhodesia.
Assessment then, Mr. Prime Minister, blacks would not probably be fit for black majority rule within your lifetime.
I don't believe in black majority rule ever in Rhodesia, not in 1,000 years.
Ian Smith, the then racist Prime Minister of Rhodesia, underestimated African resolve, resilience and determination. He declared, "I don't believe in black majority rule ever in Rhodesia, not in 1,000 years." Yet, 4 years thereafter, the Patriotic Front, ZANU Patriotic Front, secured 57 seats in the new Zimbabwe Parliament, far outreaching the other parties. Ian Smith, the racist former Prime Minister of the old Rhodesia, secured just 20 seats. Praise Jah, Rastafari.
It must be realized, however, that a state of peace and security can only be achieved by our determination, all of us, to be bound by the explicit requirements of peace contained in the Lancaster House Agreement.
And you recall our Mr. Ian Smith made it quite clear, because his people were very much in control of that old country of Rhodesia. Never in my lifetime, he said, would the Africans, black man, control this country. Never in my lifetime. And there are many people around the world who believed him and said, oh, he's absolutely right. They're all powerful. But actually, because the people of the country had that big vision for the country, they were relentless in pursuing what was, and indeed most certainly was, an Herculean task of overcoming a government that would be entrenched both by Britain, America, and many European countries who had given them incredible wealth, as well as South Africa, to overcome that hurdle, regardless of the barrier being presented by these people. And we overcame the hurdle, and now Rhodesia is now Zimbabwe, and we are in control of that country. And why I say that to you, because it's important for the diaspora to hear as you respond to that question, that without vision, without big vision as to reasons why we would join Soad, reasons why we'd return to our ancestral homeland again, the reasons why we'd make that level of commitment for our family, is because we share a vision for the continent. Okay? And it could be argued that there's not enough ambition. Maybe that's what it is. To believe that we could achieve anything if we are focused, determined, resolute in our effort for change. And we're all change makers. But it's interesting. Can I just touch on the question of SOAS and its recognition? As I did my research, as I understand it, and you've said it, that SOAS is an organisation that seeks to represent the diaspora, but actually it represents those who are, as it were, members of SOAD. Okay, and that's right. Okay, but it focuses on the diaspora, and it will therefore gain greater recognition with the African Union. But it is but one of a number of organisations with similar profiles, I understand. There are at least one or two others with similar profiles, okay? Now, ask you, in respect of the African Union, or indeed the African Parliament, what has happened there? I understand you may well be recognised now by the African Parliament. Does Pan-African Parliament get it right? Pan-African Parliament? Is that right?
Correct. SOAD is an organization mandated by the African Union to put into structures.
Forgive me.
Mandated by the African Union.
Yeah. Can I just pick on that point? I said, as I was carefully going through the note, just to understand SOAD's status. So it was the president or chair of the African Union, I believe the former president of Mauritius, okay, gave Mr. Tin the mandate, or in turn, SOAS the mandate to go organise the African diaspora so we could have a voice within the AU, okay, ultimately within the AU. But that mandate is a mandate which is not backed by the entirety of the African Union Congress of Nations, but with a mandate from the President of the African Union. I think that's correct terminology. Is that right?
Okay.
Okay, so it was being mandated by a former president in 2014. Is that right? I think that's right. Is it?
Correct.
Right, okay. So if you just continue, I just want to make sure that's clear for the purpose of the audience. So the term mandate appears to be official on behalf of the African Union, but it was actually from the president, who quite rightly saw that we've got 300 million or so Africans outside the continent. They really should have a voice, okay? And let's tell us more as to why the Pan-African Parliament, and you might want to tell us where it fits within the African Union's infrastructure structure, why that's a significant step forward for SOAD to be recognised by the Pan-African Parliament.
Well, it's significant in the sense that another institution within the structures of Africa has recognized the importance of what we're doing. Again, I draw you to the point you were making, which is that Soad seeks to represent. It doesn't necessarily represent the 360, 50 million people who are of African descent. It seeks to represent. That's the critical point you need to make. It seeks to represent. Those it actually represents are those who become citizens of Soad by a process of application. So the ones we legitimately represent are those who have taken on themselves to become citizens. Soad's authority lies in its citizenship, not in any other external institution. We are not necessarily waiting to be recognized by any other institution other than those who sign up and say, yes, we want to be part of this organization, we want to be a citizen of Soad, and we are willing to work with you and progress in the sense that we see you as a vehicle to represent us who are the diaspora. So the institution of Soad is given the authority to do what it's doing through its citizenship, through its electorate, and those will be increasing over time. There may be a day when we have everybody signed up, and we have 350 million people across the globe signing up.
Herculean task, an Herculean task.
At this moment in time, it's not the case, but we work towards it. So we're not there waiting and begging to be allowed into these platforms and that platform. Those that seek and see value in our connection, those that see value in Soad's involvement, we welcome it, we embrace it, but we're not chasing it. Soad is about its citizenship. Soad is about the work it's doing today, now, with education, with training, with development, with cultural exchange. We're doing that now. We don't need any external force to tell us you're legitimate. We are legitimate because we have citizens that have subscribed to us and say, we want you to represent us in this context.
Absolutely. So the Pan-African Parliament, can you just tell us about that body and where does it fit within the African Union's framework?
I can't tell you that much about it because I'm not really versed in it to that degree. But what the Pan-African Parliament does is allow another level of voice to African, let me say, dialogue. The real power. Like it's almost like the United Nations, and you're talking about the General Assembly and the Security Assembly. The General Assembly is primarily a talking shop and has no real legitimate power. And then you have, the security branch of it, which is like a handful of nations which actually make up the power and make up the rules and make up the laws. So all these other institutions, Pan-African Parliament, this and that, to some degree are just echo chambers and talking shops. What real power do they have? Let's focus on ECOWAS, the regional coming together of countries. I think I'd be more interested in what ECOWAS is saying or what the equivalent in East Africa is saying or South Africa. Pan-African Parliament, African Union, this division, that lobby, these are talking shops. These are talking shops that have no legislative control or power anywhere in Africa.
Okay. I bring it up because, of course, Soad now has some permanent observer status, and therefore it's now established a Soad diplomatic office within the Parliament building. So you're quite unique in that regard of the representative organisations of the diaspora. So why I bring it up because it's that's an achievement.
You bring it up rightly, and it's important that we embrace those opportunities. I'm not dismissing them. I'm saying they are important, but in my private view and my personal analysis, the real work doesn't lie there. The real work lies on the ground level. The real work lies with the education we're providing online with Soad University. It lies with the cultural exchange programs we're trying to deliver. It lies with the work we're doing with refugee status and refugee, let me say, visibility. It lies with what we're trying to do with equipping the banking system for the 60 million plus people in Africa which are unbanked. That's the work. It's not having seats in assemblies. It's great. Have a vote and vote for what?
We can get on very well. We're going to get on very well. Absolutely right. This is the Motivators Show. Remember, this is where we translate our words into action. And where success, I say again, where success is ours for the taking. You understand the principles of our platform here. And you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And we've had a sort of canter through some of the work of Soad, and this is not exhaustive, I might say, to the audience, but it's really just to get a flavour. We're certainly going to invite you back again. We can look at particular project, particular initiative for you, but this is just a taster. We want to encourage the diaspora to reach out to you to understand for themselves what you do, how you achieve your goals, okay, and therefore seek their alignment with yourself. And I was positively encouraged those inquiries by the audience here. But as I've got you here, I'm going to ask this question of you, and it's a straightforward question, because you are clearly a learned man, a man full of wisdom. There are many who can watch this initial dialogue between ourselves and understand what is your vision for Soad. So I'm going to ask, so my real question is this. We're about to close. What is your closing words to the people?
My closing word to our people in the diaspora is that we together, each of us achieves more. We have to come together. I see the belonging to Soad as the first step to greater belonging of our diaspora to Africa. It's an intermittent stage. Most people who want to go back to Africa want clearly to identify with their place of origin. They see that that's the end game, the goal, to find out where they genetically came from, where they spiritually came from, where they culturally came from. So those who take that first step to citizenship of Soad, in my view, in many ways, taking a tentative step towards that greater alignment and the greater involvement with things African. It's a very, let me say, risk-free step. It's not about relocating to Africa. It's saying, yes, I have those ambitions. I want to be more African. I want to identify myself as a diasporan, as being of that origin. I will take that first tentative step. It's not about selling everything in Boston and relocating to Ghana or to Sierra Leone. It's a step you can take almost free of risk, that identifies you in some meaningful way as African, but without the necessity to relocate. So you're taking that tentative step towards that end game that, eventually you may want to retire in Africa, you may want to be more financially involved, economically involved, politically involved. As the diasporans have more voice in their countries of origin, there are three sets of diasporans. There are those who have left Africa for education, for economic reasons. There are those who left Africa not by choice, but through the evil practice of slavery, and find themselves in all these various countries as, let me say, the forefathers who came to those countries, whether it's the Caribbean or South America or Brazil or Cuba, as a consequence of that heinous practice of slavery. So they are looking for return in a very significant way. Those diasporans who left because of education and commerce are African. They see themselves as African. Those in the Caribbean see themselves potentially as trying to become African, to belong again. The people who've left for education and commerce, they already belong. They know where they come from. They know their hometown. They know their language. They speak their language. They come from where they come from. So there are a number of people who, under the banner of African diaspora, but have very different makeup. The diaspora isn't one thing, one size fits all. There are many kinds of diasporans, and we have to find a way to represent each of those categories of diasporans. So the diasporans isn't a heterogeneous thing. It isn't a monolith. It isn't one thing. It's many things. And in that context, Soad has to find a way to represent them in meaningful ways. But I think, in conclusion, Soad is that stepping stone to full engagement with Africa. It's a risk-free step that most people can take free of concern, but it says to you, it signals to the world, I want to be identified as African. I want more involvement with my country, my continent of origin. And I think that's a great thing. I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think that's something we can all encourage and embrace and see as a practical and let me say, meaningful step towards that end game.
Well, if I may, I've got to just do this. Forgive my confusion. Yeah. And I think you'd all agree that was indeed a truly inspirational podcast. He was a remarkable advocate, speaker, presenter on behalf of the state of the African diaspora, Soad. I've got to say, that was truly inspirational. Now, there were a number of references made there, and I know some of you would want to reach out to them, and I would encourage you to do so. Now, I understand that Soad's website isn't immediately available, but I've been provided with an email address which I have given permission to use for today's broadcast. I'll put it on the screen. Hopefully, there you are. It's on the screen. So I'll put it, there you are. It's connect@soadsecretariat.com. I repeat, connect@soadsecretariat.com. If they're on the screen, remember that they're the recording always available here on YouTube, so you can always return to it. It's connect@soadsecretariat.com. There you are. Okay. I positively encourage you, who's got even a remote interest in the work of Soad, to reach out to them. They're good people. I say again, they are good people. And there is very little or no personal grandizement here. This is for love, for commitment, for, I say again, for that big vision for Africa, for ourselves, for our futures, for those children who are alive today, who are going to inherit our legacy. Well done, Soad. Well done to the leadership of Soad. Well done to the leadership of the state of the African diaspora. Well done. Well done. And we also made reference in that podcast to the Soad University. In fact, I'll put up a new, I'll put that up as well. I will provide you the link to the Soad University. Understand it's also it's a slightly different email address. I'm sure they will sort it out in the future, but it's slightly longer. So I'd encourage you, bearing in mind this recording is a recording, and therefore you're able to return to it at your leisure. Okay, so I'm not going to read it out. I'm going to put it on the screen. There you are. It's quite a long one here, and as I said, I'm sure they'll get a more concise email address for the Soad University. So it's https:// it's solist solad.ai/USOAD hyphen faculty, FACULTIES. There you are. You can see it on the screen. I'll leave it on there for a little longer, and I'm sure they will make that a more concise URL eventually. But nevertheless, that's how you can make contact with the Soad University. I've been on their website. It is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. These are forward-thinking, highly motivated African peoples, okay? These are my kind of people, you know? Enough of the talking. Actions speak louder than words. Yep, because success is ours, yours for the taking. Praise be. This is those words in action. This is the verb before you. Absolutely, absolutely. Well done. So, well done, Soad. Continue your great work, and we're getting in again in a few months' time, and we've got other questions to ask of them, but we want to positively encourage you to reach out to them. You've seen the email address. Positively encourage you to do so. Reach out to them, get to know them. We'd like to hear your feedback, but all the indication that I have upon the research I've committed, that it is one of a number of organisations that seek to represent the hundreds of millions of diasporan Africans, ancestral Africans, who, like myself, who've been away, our family's been away from the continent for generations, but I clearly, my genetics tell me that I've got strong connection with the continent. Still, my visage indicates that it's so. Therefore, it is absolute right for us to reclaim that which has been taken away from us. It's important for our children's sake to reclaim that what was taken from us. Praise Jah, Rastafari. And together we will transform the future, not only for ourselves personally, for our families, those around us, and indeed the continent of Africa, and therefore the world. Please be. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. Don't go away yet. There are a few quick announcements I want to make. Stay with us. I understand that's quite a lot to take in, and I realise and I recognise that. I just want to stay with us just for a few more minutes, but it's really important. As our podcasts evolve, of course, the number of issues that we will attach ourselves to will continue to extend. And that's by necessity. Absolute necessity. But I am conscious, despite the fact you're not seeing it in social media, despite the fact you're not seeing it in mainstream media, there is a public health alert for African peoples, particularly African peoples. The propensity for high blood pressure and diabetes in the community is astonishing. We're way above any local average, way above that. The propensity for obesity or fatness to be an integral part of our family is way beyond any average number for any other communities. This is a public health alert. We say this here on Demotivatorshow, these live editions, to remind us all that we must take care of our health and well-being, because we're all together in one family. Yes? You're not alone, you're not an island. What you do to yourself does impact on me, on us all. Yep. We're one family. And I know that for some it's a concept difficult to fully appreciate. And I get it. But what I am conscious of, though, that in the Caribbean, for example, okay, and many Caribbeans or in Europe or the Americas, what Dr. Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, announced is true. It is profoundly true. Okay? I want you to hear his words, his account of what is a fact in the Caribbean, and most certainly impacting Africans here, Caribbean Africans here in Britain, Europe, and most certainly in Americas. I want you to hear his words, his assessment of what is going on.
Before we continue,
okay, let me try that again. Shall I? Let me do the right one. Okay, there we go. Okay, let me do it another way. I'm going to activate it right now. There we go. One moment. There we go. I'll do it this way round. There we
go. We have 60% of the black people in the Caribbean over the age of 60 have hypertension or diabetes, or both. Now, if you take the single criterion of chronic diseases, hypertension, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, if you take that simple criterion, the black people in the Caribbean are the unhealthiest people on the planet. And you have to understand that. On the one hand, we are watching Usain Bolt and we're watching the Caribbean athletes. We're watching the Caribbean with an image of being the most athletic people on the planet. But beneath that image of these super sportsmen and women is the hard reality that we are now the sickest people on the planet. In every black family in the Caribbean, hypertension and diabetes is endemic and congenital. In my family, almost everybody over 60 has hypertension and diabetes.
Yeah, those are his words. That's him, Professor Hilary Beckles, giving an account of a disease that is ravaging through Africans from the Caribbean, or in the Caribbean now, diabetes and hypertension, or high blood pressure. And we're not talking about it with the urgency that it aptly deserves. So, of course, here on the Motivator Show, you'd expect us to give light to this public health crisis. And if you are a diabetes sufferer, if you have hypertension, I understand. And I know you would join with us in giving this cry to alert people to attempt to avoid these conditions. You recall we had in the studio here the inspired diabetic Lyndon Wizard. He is indeed a chef, and he fought back and controlled, carefully managed his diet and exercise, his water intake, hydration, so he could better manage his diabetes. Okay. But it is preventable for us being conscious of our behavior, our actions, and the consequences it will have on our bodies. I say this to you with a heavy heart. It's important for us to hear this message. But I also wanted you to hear the message of a professor here in London, the director of public health, a Jamaican man. Okay. And he speaks about these issues, but he speaks about it in a much broader sense of what we need to do to prevent these conditions, hypertension, diabetes, and other conditions, how we can minimize them. Listen to this professor's common sense advice. Professor Kevin Fenton says, I'm a public health director. Here are 5 things you can do to improve your health. 1. Mindful and balanced eating. Nourish wisely. Eat whole, balanced meals with awareness to support energy and well-being. 2. Get outside. Be with nature. Time outside reduces stress, improves mood, and strengthens your connection to the world. 3. Stay curious, stay engaged, explore new interests, keep your mind sharp, build social contacts, and boost your happiness. 4. Get active, move it or lose it. Move daily, lift weight, and do cardio. Exercise, improve physical, mental, mood, and energy. 5. Prioritize rest and sleep. Disconnect, rest. Quality sleep supports mental clarity, emotional balance, and overall health. There you go. Common sense advice, huh? Common sense advice. But we will continue to repeat it here on the Demotivatorshow Show, because constant repetition allows you to assimilate that information in your head. It becomes a part of your thought process, how to take care of yourself. Common sense advice being provided by that professor, Kevin Fenton, Public Health Director here in London, England. But what I'm heartened by, the number of you who heard these messages, understood their importance, and have not simply sat there and said, well, I can't do anything about it, but have responded and come together in common aim and common purpose, understand we work together, we can grow together, we can stay healthier together, and in doing so, our children will be healthier, our communities will be healthier. So take the deliberate step. I want you to watch a few of our people come together in common aim and common purpose, for understood, coming together, regardless of your ethnic background. You could be Yoruba, you could be Igbo, you could be Xhosa, you could be Zulu. Yeah, you could be Ashanti, or you could be Hora. You can indeed be more. You could be any person, as long as you understand. If we work together, we can transform our health prospects. Watch these people who pulled their resources now exercising together. This is the Demotivators Show. Because this is where we can translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. Yeah, they've come together, common aim and common purpose, working together and ensuring they stay healthier together. All right, before I leave, just two more very quick announcements, and please just stay with us. And I know you will understand why I would give light to this. You remember a remarkable guest we had here on the Motivator Show. Her name was Jelly Shinyeri, okay? And she reminded us of that wonderful oral tradition. The jellies are, of course, an integral part of African societies. Let me put this on the screen about an event that's coming up. Okay, in fact, let me do that better. There we go. So, of course, there you got it. The Storytelling Festival. We inspire vision with the oral tradition. The 23rd to the 28th of July. This is where the whole family can experience African storytelling, the oral tradition. People, if you have children, yeah, it'd be a fantastic occasion for the children. They hear stories about their culture, their history, their traditions, narrated by inspired people who want to communicate with them so they can uphold their mental and courageousness, their psychological profile, because we don't receive this information enough here in the West. So if you are in Britain and you can come along the 23rd to 28th of July, it's based in Wales, but I'll give you the website address. It's www.shanti, SHANTI CHI.com. I repeat, www.shanti, SHANTI-CHI.com. Email address, it's info@shanti-chi.com. There you are. It will be an important event. If you can't find the time, we recommend that you do so. It will be truly an inspirational experience, and one I'm assuring you, both young and old, you will all agree with me, because yes, I will be there. You will all agree that was a worthwhile experience. I'm also going to put, there you are, the what they call the QR code. I'll put it on the screen. So if you've got your camera, there you are. You've got your camera. Just point the camera at the screen, and that will take you directly to the website. Okay, there you are. a fantastic occasion, and I look forward to speaking to Jelly within the next few days. And we need to have a conversation. She might want to come back and give a further promotion to what will be an important seminal event, this storytelling festival. Can you imagine our children, coming along to a festival? We have storytellers talking about our peoples, African peoples, the great, great empires, the great civilizations, the great people, the great orators, the great writers, the great scientists, the great adventurers. Yeah, those people, those personalities that will stimulate that young mind, those young minds. If you're a mature person who'd never had the opportunity to be exposed to African storytelling, which are a factual account of our actual history, I recommend this event to you. Absolutely. I recommend the event to you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I know you all completely understand. And lastly, of course, and I said it right at the beginning of our session, of course, the Black Business Entrepreneurs Conference being led by that remarkable person, of course, Dr. Carlton Brown. Okay. Why do I mention it again? And each one of you will recognize that no society, no civilization can function unless it has a strong wealth creation communities. Okay, people who are highly driven, who are able to create wealth, create jobs, opportunity to utilize new skills. Okay, all countries are judged not by what they say, but what they can actually do. Entrepreneurs, business people are absolutely doers, absolute doers. So the Black Business Entrepreneurs Conference is a must attend adventure. It's an important, very important event. Okay, there's but a handful of tickets available. So if you haven't got it, please go to it now. There you go.
This is your moment. Don't let it pass. The UK Black Business Entrepreneur Conference 2026. NatWest Conference Centre, Bishopsgate, London, 8th July. Come and hear from world-class speakers and renowned entrepreneurs. If you've been thinking about starting, growing, or taking your business seriously, this is where it happens. Learn how to build and scale globally. Unlock innovation and tech to move faster. Get in the room with people who are actually doing it. No more waiting. No more watching from the sidelines. 70% sold out. The room is filling fast. Secure your seat now. www.thebbec.com. Eventbrite.
We are building a future that is not just sustainable, but truly extraordinary.
Be in the room or hear about it late. This is your moment.
Absolutely. It is the place to be. And my last announcement, just to repeat, but an important announcement, of course, the official visit to Burkina Faso. If you haven't considered previously, this is the one to attend. Perfectly safe, but it'll be truly inspirational.
Discover Burkina Faso, the place of the rising spirit. The calling has gone out. Go to website address let's discover burkina.com. Let's discover burkina.com. You are invited to visit on 17th of March to the 1st of April 2027. We are a holiday destination. Many investment opportunities. We are family friendly. A great place just to relax. Go to website address let's discover burkina.com. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso. Visit Burkina Faso.
Absolutely. Visit Burkina Faso, the land of the upright men and women. The land led by the great Captain Ibrahim Traore, President indeed, Ibrahim Traore, the youngest head of state in the world. He's demonstrating how good governance can and will benefit the people. Please, Joe. And now I must leave you. I leave you with, of course, the Amandla power, okay? But I'll leave you with the important follow-on that we are breaking the mental chains of colonialism. Thank you all. Until the next time, I remain the motivator.
Amandla! 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 Amandla!
Before we continue, we ask for your support. If you believe in the mission of the Demotivator Show to inform, inspire, educate and empower the African Diaspora and our friends around the world, please take a moment to like this video. Every like helps more people discover these important conversations. Leave a comment below. We read your views, your experiences and your suggestions, and they often help shape our future programs. If you've not already done so, subscribe to the channel. We are building a growing community of people committed to truth, self-determination, Pan-African progress and a positive change. Please share this video with your family, your friends, your colleagues, your social media networks, and share could be the reason someone discovers information that changes their perspective forever. And finally, press the bell icon and select all notifications so you never miss an interview, analysis, a discussion, or a special broadcast. Thank you for your continued support. Together, we inform, inspire, and build a brighter future. Welcome to the Motivator Show.